It's time for your weird rap. I mean, extraordinary rap bonus episode! Ow! Gonna probably have new intro music for the bonus episode and the regular episodes. I feel like changing the name it's kind of a good time to give things a facelift, keep things fresh. I intend to always keep this project in motion, moving, growing, and changing. That's just how I tend to do my projects. Otherwise, they get stale, and I don't want to do them anymore. And yeah, I will discuss why I've been so scant on content lately. It was for a few months, it was because I got extremely busy. I went on a tour, and it all was just too much for me to keep up with the podcast, and certain lack of inspiration went along with that. And then I finally came back off a tour a few weeks ago, and I finally did have time to do this stuff, and then I kind of fell into a bit of a lull. I got off Prozac, and I guess that's probably partially to blame for just feeling kind of depressed and totally unmotivated for a couple weeks, but now I feel good again. And again, I'm sorry that I haven't put out at least the bonus episodes that I owe you Patreon supporters. That's why I am doing 2 of them today. I think now maybe we're caught up. I don't know. I don't know. I'll try to be better in the future. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Well, if anyone's curious, I was on tour, not rap-related tour. It was weird, though. It was with David Liebehart, who I've been working with for like a decade now. I do his backing music and his booking and tour management, all that shit. And we went on a Pacific Northwest tour, and it was pretty fun. I did end up in Canada, up in Vancouver, BC, after the tour. I took a week or so, only like 5 days actually, to hang out with Andrew Mbaruk, my favorite rapper, definitely one of my favorite rappers, who I've felt very honored to work with long distance, and we finally got to meet in person and record a new album in person. He works super fast, and I made myself work faster than normal, just making quick sketches of beats for him to rap on. And our album, Purple Dirndl, is the working title, should be out next year. I think I'm going to take a little while to work on it because I've already been like co-producing another Andrew album that he composed all the music for, but I'm sort of like remixing it a bit, and that's going to come out on Extraordinary Rap hopefully within the next month. I want to try to get it out in time for the best of the year lists, because I think it's fucking great, and I think it could be Andrew's breakout album. It's a personal album. It's where he finally like kind of, as opposed to the rest of his music, he kind of gets more personal and talks about his own life, his past, and it's less literary, just more descriptive, where you don't have to be a total like philosophy and poetry nerd to understand all the references. But also the production, I think, is really cool. It's like noisy, lo-fi kind of, I don't know what it is. I think it's pretty unique, and I think it's great. And I'm hyped to be putting that out soon. We recorded some music videos for that and for the next album. And the reason I'm probably going to take some time to put out the next album is because, well, I don't want to put out 2 Andrew albums right in a row. And also, I've been sitting on this Cool Keith album that I have all the vocals for. All the beats are made too. I just been meaning to like mix it basically and remix it a bit. I think it's going to be a great album, but for some reason I just been sitting on it because for me, it's been like a long time goal to have an album with Cool Keith, and I finally do. And it's like, I'm feeling pressure or something to like make it great. 'Cause the vocals he gave me are kind of like what you expect from Keith. It's like, I was like, get weird as you want, this is going to be on the Weird Rap label, get super weird. And we had this concept about him being a cult leader. And, when he hears a producer tell him to do something, he's just going to kind of like do the opposite or do that to the bare minimum because he's an against the grain kind of guy. So yeah, he recorded vocals that, great deliveries. Lyrics wise, it's a little bit more sports references than like psychedelic alien references or whatever that I would hope for. But that album's it's gonna be something. Yeah, the origin story of how that came about is sort of an interesting story too, but won't go into that right now. What else should I talk about? Other things on the horizon for Extraordinary Rap include the Dekuma album I mentioned, and I didn't. I mentioned it in the other episode. Dekuma, 21-year-old. This will be their fourth album called Feeding the World Serpent, and I'm super hyped to be co-releasing it. They're releasing it and I'm just releasing it too and helping promote it. And it's actually a benefit album. I don't stand to make money on it. I just am happy to be associated with it. And I want to help get Dekuma out there to more ears because I think they deserve it. They're amazing, especially for such a young person who's continues to grow. And I'm excited to see where they go from here because this is already an epic, just maximalist, what do we call it? A neoclassical electronic noise industrial hip hop fusion of some sorts. It's just stylistically consistent but varied, I would say, from like tense to calm to extremely climactic. Cinematic is a good description for it. A lot of the music sounds like it could be for film scores. Dekuma is actually trying to get into film scores, so they told me this was like their attempt to like showcase their skills a bit in that department. Coming out September 23rd. I played a snippet in the other episode, but here's another one.
Poison, throw the bodies in the sea. I hope you're buoyant. I can feel it on my neck, the serpent coils. Tyranny in every moment, can't avoid it. I'm feeling noited. This is poison, throw the bodies in the sea. I hope you're buoyant. I can feel it on my neck, the serpent coils. Bleeding people's on that block, I'm feeling noited, feeling noited.
Perpetually pestered by vigilance, excellence instilled in my ill temperament. Be patient and peace and ruthless to combat my warrior's code. I was raised to be a killer of killers, leader of leaders, and one of one. May my people's freedom be assured the coming of the sun. Freedom from the shedding of blood and the death of innocence. May we be free from trauma and ignorance. A prayer to whatever God is listening. A prayer and a warning. If it be against your will, you best expect the black man's resistance.
Hey, cause you can, you supposed to. I got plans. If I approach you, raise the hands. If I coach you, run the bands. I'm gonna dispose you. Your fan, my son don't jam, don't run for the man. My OG told me love was a scam, so don't go on by home of a man. No good deeds, go on, punish the blood runners. The only thing public is guns now. It's not coming in to get safe. Let's try to get paid. I'm not gonna get stuck, but the kitty with a fair brain spirit.
I guess I could talk about why I changed the name. Weird Rap. It's something that I kind of been kicking myself since the beginning for calling it that, realizing a little too late that people I really respect, from artists to listeners find it a little offensive or grating in some way or another, and I just want people to like me. No, but I do want people to like me, but more it's like my intention with this project is to honor and celebrate people and to forge some relationships with some of the artists that I love. I think the original impetus is just to find a community of people to share my appreciation for this music that no one in my day-to-day life, gives a shit about. And it's been really cool to find people all over the world that do share my excitement for a lot of this music. But the secondary goal has been to forge relationships with some of the artists that I really like, some of the rappers, partially in hopes that I can produce for them. And that has come to fruition to some degree. I've been able to work with a lot of artists that I love because of this project. And I do feel like a bit of an outsider, like there's the Cool Kids Journalists Club, like indie hip hop journalists that like all like talk to each other and tweet each other and have each other as guests on their podcasts. And I feel like I'm kind of left out from that, and that's fine. Like that was never my intention to be part of that, but seeing that I'm not part of it is kind of, I don't like that feeling. And I've also gotten like just certain artists that I look up to, I'll like praise their work or, try to reach out in some way or another for interviews or whatever it is, and feel like I get like a really kind of surprisingly hostile reaction, which I can only guess has to do with the name. I think the name just offends people. Also the way the logo looks, also the fact that I'm white in conjunction with those things, and the whole history of, white tourists voyeuristically gawking at black culture. And also maybe, I sound like a fucking surfer dude, my accent, the way I speak. It might just be on the surface, at least, really like, whatever, offensive, I guess. And I get that. And then recently I got a message, usually I feel like it's just like a lack of response or a cold shoulder, or that maybe is in my head, or maybe the person is just busy and they treat all journalists like that or whatever. But every once in a while I get an overt reaction, where recently this rapper that I don't even like that much, I think they have potential, I think they're interesting, just straight up said, "I don't like you," in a direct message when I invited them to a show. And I was like, at first I was like amused. I was like, wow, this person doesn't even know me at all. And what could they be, reacting to? This is an interesting line of conversation. And then, the more I thought about it, the more it really bothered me. And we had a little conversation which didn't go very far. They said they were busy on tour, so they would talk to me more about it later when they're back home. But it kind of like was like the last straw for me, like having people treat me so coldly based on what I can't really ascertain. I was hanging out with Andrew and we were a little high, and it came to me like a bolt of lightning, extraordinary, play on the word weird. And I know it's not as good of a name. It's not as catchy. It's not as short. It's, I can't even fit the whole name in a Twitter username. But I feel like I've fostered a certain community of people that a lot of them I don't like. a lot of them are these kind of like my worst fear of what people think I am, which is a privileged white person that appreciates rap on a superficial level and for more like comedic and quirky value than artistic value. And like I can appreciate comedy and quirkiness and just awful weird rap too, but my main focus is extraordinary, amazing weird rap. So I'm hoping that with the name change, maybe I kind of foster a different sort of audience, one that takes music a little more seriously. With the name change, I'm also, I realized I couldn't get extraordinaryrap.com because someone else has it, strangely. I don't know why. I feel like it's some scam just so that the domain name register people can make extra money off me. They want to charge me like $100 and some bucks to like look into it or try to negotiate a deal with the anonymous owner of the domain name. And extraordinaryrap.org was available, so I just got that instead. And then that made me think, I kind of do want to make this. I have been thinking for a while, it would be nice to make this project, instead of just a personal venture, a collective venture, a cooperatively owned business of some sort. And it's not really a business to speak of at this point. I mean, I've definitely put more money into it than I've gotten at this point. And luckily, I don't need this business to survive. I have a very low overhead and I make money from other means. So luckily, I can afford to kind of take a few steps back business-wise. Changing the name and the URLs and all that stuff is not the smartest business move, but maybe in the long run, it's a smart business move. I don't know. Either way, I just feel better about it. But yeah, I also feel better about doing business in this way, charging people money and stuff, if at least some of that money is going to good places or feeding a larger community than just myself. I don't know. I guess maybe that's part of my white guilt or just the reality that I am relatively privileged and I would like to share the wealth a little bit. Not that I'm wealthy by any means, but my parents own land and I get to live on it for very cheap. Anyway, the point was, I've begun taking steps towards making hopefully all of the future releases on the label benefits to some degree. Like I said, or maybe I didn't say that, but the Dekuma album is going to be 100% benefit to cancer care, which is an organization that Dekuma chose because their godmother recently died of cancer and seems like a good organization. Anyway, each release I want it to go to a different good cause of one sort or another, and I think I'll just feel better about things if I do it that way, even though in all likelihood I won't be making a huge profit for these groups. Hopefully I can bring some awareness to their causes and who knows, maybe I'll have a hit one of these days. But along with that concept of, wanting to benefit different organizations with the releases on the label, I'd also like to explore the possibility of doing like cooperative releases where, say, for example, like we put out a release by a certain artist and they get half of the money and then the other half is split among the other members of the label or the people that decide they want to sign on to like this album as being something that they really believe in, and maybe they help promote it a little bit or something. I don't know. I think that could work. anyway, a lot of people have been complaining about the name change and worrying that there will be a shift in focus, and there won't be really from me. Hopefully there is a shift in focus of the audience, but like I've always kind of hesitated to showcase people on the podcast like MC Paul Barman, even though I think he's very talented, and I have a lot of respect for especially his more recent music. His first project, terrible, I think, but I think is a good like example of a person that's like really riding the edge between corny white guy rap and what I would call extraordinary rap. But I've always hesitated to showcase people like them, like Y or like Mrs. Paintbrush. You know, I still do it, but I understand that, you know, these kind of artists paired with the label Weird Rap and the pink and green logo, it makes it seem like some hipster white guy cornball shit to certain people. And I do care about how this brand is perceived. I want it to be respected, and I want it to denote serious music appreciation. So that is all to say, I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing, basically. It just has a different name. Anyway, I came off Prozac. If we're going to get a little personal, I mentioned before that I've suffered from mild depression, and for whatever reason, I thought maybe if I tell people about my personal life, they'll care more about this project. So I started telling people about some personal things like that, and how I got on Prozac, and how, I don't know, it felt like it helped me, and I was feeling like a little boost in self-confidence and esteem. And I was on it for like 10 months, and then I thought maybe I'd try to get off it to see if, they say ideally, like my therapist says, ideally you use these things, antidepressants, temporarily to get back on a good track, and then you taper off of them and you stay on the good track. Well, I did that, and I didn't stay on a good track. I kind of fell off and felt like shit for a few weeks. I don't know if it was because of the Prozac or because I had just finally come off a tour and like a few months of just like constantly being on the go and socializing and going to parties and like probably drinking and doing too much ketamine. But then I came home and I was finally just like alone for a while and feeling uncomfortable in my sobriety and not knowing what to do with myself exactly, and just not feeling motivated to do anything that I should do or things that I would otherwise want to do, like make music, etc., see friends even. I just didn't want to do anything. I felt like crap. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but that's just to explain, I guess, why I haven't put anything out until now, as far as the podcast and stuff goes. But I feel like I'm back on the saddle now, kind of for whatever reason, feel good again. I don't know why, but thank goodness I do. Anyway, give me your feedback. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. extraordinaryrap@gmail.com. extraordinaryrap.org/rating is where you can support the show with some little clicks and reviews and whatnot. That's always appreciated. extraordinaryrap.bandcamp.com is where I hopefully very soon will have the Dekuma album up for pre-order. Pre-order will just be $1. And that's it. That's all. Thank you, and goodbye.